Hello, children. Today's lesson is a story, The Little Match Girl. The Little Match Girl by Hans Christian Andersen. Hans Christian Andersen, he was a Danish writer born in Denmark. He is usually called as H.C. Andersen. He is best remembered for his fairy tales. But his childhood was not at all happy. And if you go through his stories, you will find that his stories they reflect the sadness, loss, and death. And once, while he was going on the streets of Denmark, he came across a painting of a little girl who was selling matches on the street. And it was this painting, that from this painting, he got the inspiration for his famous fairy tale, The Little Match Girl, which we are going to study today. But apart from this, he was a prolific writer of plays, travelogues, novels, and poems, but he was best remembered for his fairy tales. His most famous fairy tale it includes The Little Mermaid, The Emperor's New Clothes, The Ugly Duckling, and The Little Match Girl. The story depicts The Little Match Girl. The story it depicts the Victorian era. The Victorian era was considered to be the golden age of the novel. The writers, through their writings, they tried to make efforts to stop child labor. And Charles Dickens, he was one of the most famous Victorian novelists through his story novels like Oliver Twist. He has clearly depicted the social evils of the society in the Victorian era. And similarly, through his story, The Little Match Girl, Andersen, he has tried to portray a realistic and a crude view of the society in the Victorian times. They have tried to show the social evils like unemployment, child labor, the disparity between the rich and the poor. The Little Match Girl, the story it was first published in 1845 and the story it opens in a cold, dark last evening of the year. A poor girl, she is moving in the streets. It was a terrible, cold, dark evening, and in this dark and chilly evening, the little poor girl she was sent by her father to sell matches. She walked bare feet. The slippers which she was wearing, she had lost those slippers, and she was not ready to go home because of the cruel nature of her father, and also because her house was cold. It will not give her so warm. So she did not dare to return to her home. She was shivering with cold and hunger. So she continued to move slowly, and then what did she do? She huddled herself against a wall and sat down, but so that she could keep herself warm. Still, she did not feel so comfortable. She did not feel so warm. Her hands had become numb, and so just to keep herself warm, she just lit a matchstick. As she lit a matchstick, she saw her first vision, the first dream which she saw. As she lit the matchstick spluttered and burned, and it was so amazing that she felt like sitting in front of a great iron stove with shining brass knobs and a brass cover. And the fire, it burned so beautifully. It gave out a lovely warmth to the girl. The girl, she stretched her arms, stretched her legs to feel the warmth from the iron stove. As it appeared wonderful to the child. As soon as she stretched her arms and legs, the flame went out. The stove vanished. and she was left only with the remains of the burnt match in her hand. So here the girl, she wanted to feel the warmth. She wanted to save herself from the bitter cold because she was dying with cold. So she was just expecting some warmth from somewhere. So that is why in her first vision, as she lit the magic matchstick, she saw a warm iron stove. Now when she felt the warmth from the first matchstick, she just tried to light another matchstick. So she struck another match against the wall, and when the light fell upon the match, it became transparent. She could, through the transparent walls, she could see a room on which a table was laid with a beautiful white tablecloth, and beautiful china crockery was there, and steaming delicious food was there on the table. And in the center of the table there was a roasted goose stuffed with prunes and apples and steaming deliciously. And then and the most interesting part of this vision is that the goose, it waddled across the girl, came to the girl with fork and knife stuck on it, as if the goose was offering that, come eat me. And as the girl tried to catch the goose, the light went off and her vision vanished. Then she again lit the third matchstick. As she lit the third matchstick, she saw her third vision. Her third vision, a beautiful Christmas tree. A Christmas tree, it was so beautiful with thousands and thousands of candles burning on its branches and beautifully decorated with brightly colored balls. The girl, she tried to catch one of the balls, and as she tried to catch one of the balls, the match went out and the Christmas lights were still there, but all the Christmas lights, they were mounting higher and higher in the sky, and they started turning into stars. So now as it started turning into stars, the girl, she saw a shooting star. As she saw a shooting star, she remembered her deceased grandmother. Her grandmother, she had once told the girl that when a star falls, a person dies, a good soul descends to the heaven. So she understood that someone is about to die because the star has fallen down. Then what did she do? She just lit another matchstick. As she lit her fourth matchstick, in her vision she saw her beautiful grandmother. The grandmother was the only person in the girl's life who loved her a lot, because the girl was dejected by her father and she had already lost her mother, so no one was there in her life to love her, only her grandmother, and now she had also lost her grandmother. As she lit the matchstick, in a vision she saw her grandmother. She just wanted her, she had immense affection from her, she had got immense affection from her, and she did not want to lose her again and again. She just wanted her company forever. So because she found she was very comfortable. She found comfort in her grandmother's lap. That is why she did not want her grandmother to vanish from her eyesight. Grandmother was the only person in the poor girl's life who loved her. So what did the girl do? When the child, she saw her grandmother, she pleaded her grandmother, "Oh granny, take me with you." And she did not want to lose her grandmother. So what did she do? She struck the whole bundle of matches to keep her grandmother with her forever. And the bright glow of the matches, it reflected the image of the grandmother. The grandmother was looking very beautiful, and the light was brighter than the daylight. And grandmother, she took the little girl in her arms, and both of them flew in brightness and joy above the earth, because the girl, she was so fed up of her life that she did not want to stay here in this world. So she was thought that she will be safe in the hands of the God. And the little grandmother, she took the little girl in her arms, Both of them flew in brightness and joy above the earth, very, very high, and up there was neither cold nor hunger and nor fear. Next day, the girl, it was the last evening of the year, girl's body was lying leaning against the wall, frozen to death, and this new year's sun, it witnessed a pathetic figure of the girl. Her body had become stiff and cold. She held the matches which were unburned. The people who were unconcerned about her in the beginning, they did not show any sympathy towards the girl in the beginning when she was selling the matchstick. Now the people, they were showing their concern. They said that the girl must have died because of cold. She must have died because she wanted to save her from the cold. So she has died. And they said that she might wanted to warm herself up. But these people, they could not imagine the beautiful visions which the girl had seen. They could only see her frozen dead body, and they could only figure it out that she must have died because of the cold. But nobody could see the beautiful visions which the girl had seen. Now we come to the symbolism of the story. In the story, there are 4 things which have a very important symbolism in the story. Symbolism, symbols, they are the words through which they communicate more than its meaning. An author, he has used a very simple language which is very apt for a fairy tale, and he has used few symbols also. The first most important symbolism is of the matchstick. Matchstick, it has an important role in the story. It is used for selling the matches to earn the money. That a little girl in the story, she was out in the street on this bitterly cold, and it was lighting the matches only that the girl tried to keep herself warm. And while lighting the matches, she could see the visions of an iron stove, a sumptuous feast, a twinkling Christmas tree, and a late grandmother. And so the matches, they symbolize the warmth from the cold and warmth of love which the little girl was longing for. Then we come to the iron stove. The iron stove, it is a symbolism of the feelings of love, warmth, and safety which the girl longed for. Then is the Christmas tree, the beautiful Christmas tree which the girl, she saw in her vision, which was huge, brightly lit, beautifully decorated, and there were so many things. And these type of beautifully decorated Christmas trees, they are found in a wealthy home. The evergreen Christmas tree, it is a sign of life, rebirth, stamina which is needed to bear the winter months. And little girl in the story, she was trying to survive from the extremely cold winter night by lighting the matches. Next we come to the cold. Cold is a symbol of hardship, desperation, hopelessness. The little girl in the story, she was out in the street selling the matchsticks. She did not have warm clothes and shoes to protect herself from cold. Her hands and feet had become numb, and then ultimately what happened? She was frozen to death because of being exposed to cold. So here we see that these things have play a very important role in the story. Next we come to the setting of the story. The story is set on a New Year's Eve. It is cold and snowy outside. The wind is blowing in a very strong way. The wind has become wild, a gloomy atmosphere, and it is hinting a gloomy atmosphere. It is also hinting the readers that something bad is going to happen now. And author has created an effective setting to show the huge disparity between the rich and the poor people during the Victorian era. The little girl, she was barehead, bare with naked feet. She did not even have warm clothes to protect herself from the cold. And the girl was out on the road to sell the matches, while the rich people, they were inside their homes enjoying their festivities and having enjoyment. The little girl, she could not earn a single penny, while the rich people, they were enjoying delicious feast at their home. And so author has tried to depict the disparity between the rich and the poor. And in this, through the story, in this story, the writer H.C. Andersen, he has also tried to show depict the theme of class differentiation. Through the story, he portrays a realistic view of the society in the Victorian era, and he has tried to show that there is a great disparity between the rich and the poor. The rich people, they are inside their home, they are least bothered about the sufferings of the poor people. They are eating, drinking, making merry, but they are not even caring for the poor people. The little match girl, and through the story, the author has tried to depict the poor people, that how do these poor people, they die because of cold and starvation. They do not even have money. Another theme which the writer has tried to depict in the story is faith and hope. Hope, the girl, she has a hope, she has trust in God, and she has a hope that one day she will be able to pull out through her difficulties, and so she continued to keep herself warm by lighting the matches, and she had faith in God that God is going to help her one day. So when she lit a match, she saw her grandmother. She had full faith in her that her grandmother will take her to heaven, and she will be free from all the difficulties, from all the troubles of this world. So the story, the author has very clearly depicted the loss, the hopelessness which was prevalent there at that time in the society during the Victorian era. So, and he has also tried to depict the treatment of children in the Victorian society, and how were the poor children, thousands of orphans, how were they treated in this Victorian society, what sufferings they had to suffer. So this is the end of the story, The Little Match Girl. We have discussed the setting, we discussed the symbolism and the four visions. Children, I hope you must, all of you must have understood, and I hope you will enjoy the story. Thank you, children, and we'll meet in the next